The Boston Celtics face a brutal challenge in replacing Jaylen Brown. But this organization has mastered the formula to survive it. The backlash following the trade of their star ignored a hidden truth about modern basketball. Fans panicked because they assumed that replacing a player coming off his best season is an impossible task. It is difficult to find a direct talent replacement for a guy who carried the offense. But the reality of building a championship contender is that basketball is never just about raw talent. Winning at the highest level requires a deep commitment to process, chemistry, fundamentals, and overall roster fit. If there is one team in the league that understands this concept, it is the Boston Celtics. Even though the fan base is nervous, the franchise has been running this exact rodeo for years. We have to rewind the clock to the beginning of the Joe Mazzulla era to understand how they built this resilience. When Joe Mazzulla was thrust into the head coaching role in 2022, he faced a mountain of problems. Winning a title was the ultimate goal, but it was not the only immediate challenge on his plate. He had to figure out how the team would survive while navigating a strict minutes restriction for veteran Al Horford. He also had to prepare for the inevitable extended absences of a very injury-prone Robert Williams. The coaching staff knew they could not simply replace those two players with guys who possessed the exact same skills. There was no one else on the roster who could anchor a defense like Williams or space the floor like Horford. Instead, they focused on inserting big men whose specific fit within the system could mask the drop in pure talent. It was a risky strategic choice, and not every move turned out to be a success story for the team. There were definitely a few failed experiments along the way that most fans have forgotten about by now. Not many people remember the brief stints of Noah Vonleh or Mfiondu Kabengele trying to anchor the paint. But the front office and coaching staff kept tweaking the formula until they found the perfect combination of role players. They made the system work with a combination of Grant Williams, Blake Griffin, Luke Kornet, and Mike Muscala. Those guys did not have elite athletic profiles, but they executed the defensive schemes and kept the ball moving. The strategy worked so well that Horford and Williams were well rested and ready to go for the postseason. That careful load management strategy brought Boston within just a few inches of returning to the NBA Finals. It took Caleb Martin and Gabe Vincent playing the best basketball of their lives to finally push Miami over the top. Despite that painful Game 7 loss, the Celtics proved a massive point to the rest of the basketball world. They proved that pushing past the limitations of their big men could actually help them go much deeper into the playoffs. They learned that relying on depth and system execution was far more sustainable than running their main stars into the ground. That valuable lesson was only the beginning of a recurring theme that would define the entire Joe Mazzulla era. Boston has consistently faced and welcomed this exact same challenge over the last few demanding seasons. During their historic run to Banner 18, they ran into very similar problems managing their frontcourt minutes. They had to manage Horford while dealing with the constant injury concerns surrounding their star acquisition, Kristaps Porzingis. Instead of panicking, the coaching staff turned to Luke Kornet and a Portuguese center from Sacramento named Neemias Queta. They also made a vital strategic move at the trade deadline to acquire Xavier Tillman for added frontcourt insurance. Once again, the strategy of replacing their best bigs in the aggregate proved to be successful for the coaching staff. The team did not skip a single beat, and that collective effort ultimately helped them secure another championship banner. They faced the exact same challenge the following season when they attempted to defend their title. They had to lean on their big man depth once again to survive without Porzingis and Horford for long stretches. But the challenge evolved significantly because they also had to figure out how to compensate for the absence of Jrue Holiday. Losing a premier perimeter defender and offensive initiator could have easily derailed the season for any other franchise. This is where the true brilliance of their internal developmental system really began to shine through the adversity. They turned to Peyton Pritchard, who had originally been viewed as a partial replacement for the departed Malcolm Brogdon. Pritchard stepped up and ended up playing the exact same crucial role Brogdon had played just a single year prior. He provided instant offense off the bench and kept the ship sailing smoothly, despite the missing star talent. The team remained a juggernaut because the system empowered every player to step up when their number was called. But all of those previous hurdles pale in comparison to what the franchise endured during this most recent season. Last year, the Celtics saw this familiar challenge amplified to a level they had never truly experienced before. Their franchise cornerstone, Jason Tatum, went down with a devastating injury that sidelined him for massive portions of the year. To make matters worse, the team lost the veteran core that had defined their championship-winning DNA. Porzingis, Horford, Holiday, and Kornet were all gone, leaving a massive void in both production and locker room leadership. The playoffs obviously did not end with a parade, but the team still managed to shock the NBA landscape. They wound up being one of the most surprising and resilient teams in the league because they barely even got worse. Jaylen Brown stepped into the spotlight and delivered an absolute masterclass while carrying the heavy offensive burden. He put up incredible numbers, but he did not keep the sinking team afloat completely by himself during that stretch. Every single role player on the roster stepped up and broke out to ensure the team remained highly competitive. The culture of next man up had been drilled into their heads so deeply that the loss of elite talent never fazed them. Now they are staring down the barrel of that exact same challenge, but this time Jaylen Brown is no longer walking through that door. Trading away a player who just delivered the best statistical season of his career is a massive gamble for any front office. The Celtics will be asking plenty of different guys to elevate their game to fill the void left by his departure. The addition of a proven veteran star like Paul George is obviously a huge piece of the puzzle moving forward. But replacing the immense production and defensive versatility of Jaylen Brown goes way beyond simply plugging in Paul George. It requires a unified effort from the entire supporting cast to replicate the rim pressure and perimeter defense they lost. We are going to see young players given the green light to take on more usage and create their own shots. The offensive system will likely shift to feature more ball movement and off-ball screens to generate open looks. We can expect Joe Mazzulla to dig deep into his bag of tactical tricks to exploit mismatches and maximize offensive efficiency. The defense will rely heavily on switchability and aggressive help principles to cover up any individual weaknesses on the perimeter. If recent history has taught us anything, it is that this coaching staff knows exactly how to put players in positions to succeed. They do not ask role players to be superstars, but they demand that everyone executes their specific job with perfection. Imagine a hypothetical scenario where the new pieces instantly click and the offense flows even better than it did last season. The ball never sticks and every possession results in a high-quality shot at the rim or a wide-open three-pointer. The gravity and spacing provided by the new additions could open up driving lanes that simply did not exist when the floor was cramped. Jason Tatum could return fully healthy and step into a system perfectly tailored to his elite playmaking and scoring abilities. On the flip side, there will inevitably be growing pains as the new roster learns how to communicate defensively in real time. There will be frustrating stretches where the team looks disconnected and panicked fans start questioning the massive trade. The sports media will ruthlessly dissect every regular season loss and constantly compare this new team to Jaylen Brown. But the foundation of this franchise is built on thick concrete that can withstand those temporary storms of adversity. The front office recognized that staying stagnant in a constantly evolving league is a guaranteed recipe for eventual failure. The new collective bargaining agreement severely punishes teams that try to keep expensive rosters together for too many years. They made the tough business decision to move on from a beloved player to ensure long-term financial and roster flexibility. That crucial flexibility allows them to continuously surround their core with the necessary depth to survive the grueling season. It is a calculated risk, but it is a risk backed by years of empirical evidence that their specific developmental system works. Replacing a former Finals MVP might sound like an impossible task to the casual basketball observer. The sheer volume of points, rebounds, and assists that walked out the door would cripple almost any other organization. But for the Boston Celtics, navigating this exact type of seemingly impossible roster transition is basically just another Tuesday. They have a proven track record of overcoming this exact challenge over and over again for 4 consecutive years. The culture of accountability and relentless execution is completely immune to the departure of any single individual player. The coaching staff has built an environment where the system is the actual star, and the players simply operate the machinery. When one gear is removed, they simply insert another, and the machine continues to crush opponents with mathematical precision. As the new season approaches, the entire basketball world will be eagerly watching to see if the magic has finally run out. Every analyst will be waiting for the moment this grand experiment finally collapses under the weight of its own ambition. But doubting the resilience of a team that has repeatedly thrived in the face of massive roster turnover is a foolish bet. The Celtics have the blueprint, the elite coaching, and the institutional knowledge to successfully rebuild their identity once again. The names on the back of the jerseys might change, but the expectation of excellence in Boston remains completely identical. This organization demands championship contention every single year, regardless of who is currently playing on the court. The Eastern Conference is loading up with fresh talent, and rival teams are desperately trying to dethrone the perennial contenders. Will the rest of the league finally catch up, or will Joe Mazzulla pull off his greatest magic trick yet? Replacing Jaylen Brown is the ultimate test of the culture they have painstakingly built over the last half-decade. If they succeed, it will forever change how front offices evaluate the importance of individual talent versus collective system execution. The journey to prove their doubters wrong begins right now, and the stakes have never been higher for this storied franchise. Let us know in the comments if you believe this system can truly thrive without their former franchise cornerstone leading the way.